Well, come next Thursday, that is July 24, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kessel Atufos, will go to Parliament and present the mid-year review of the 2025 estimate. But what is he going to talk about? Is it all about the revenue, the expenditure, and also the talk about reviewing some of the taxes as well? But it's very, very critical that indeed we get the pulse of the private sector. And indeed, we have those who matter when it comes to the economy in terms of the banking, the financial sector, represented by the Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, Mr. John Iwa, in studio with us, and also the traders as well, the Vice President of the Ghana Association as well, is here with us in studio as we gauge the pulse of the traders, the financiers, and also get the thoughts of an economist about this mid-year budget review of estimates. What should we be expecting? What does the private sector want? What about those who are in the financial sector? The bankers, what do they want? Some are saying that they hold the pulse of the economy and whatever affects them affects everyone. It's all about the economy, the banking sector, the traders, and the mid-year review of estimate. And also the fact that, you shouldn't forget what also is happening today. There was an emergency monetary policy committee meeting. The governor has come out to give some clarification. But before we go for a break as well, let's roll these numbers on the screen in terms of engaging or getting the true picture of the economy. If you look at the numbers here in terms of the mid-year review expectations as well, in terms of growth, we're seeing that the economy, in terms of the Q1 2025, it has grown by 5.3%. That is the overall GDP growth rate according to what the Ghana Statistical Service has put out as well. Now let's look at inflation as well, and that is also very, very critical as well, and the impact of that on the cost of credit. Inflation used to be somewhere around 54.1 and has gone down to 13.7. If you engage those who are in the industry, there are some strong indications that we're going to witness another significant drop in inflation for the month of July. And how would all these things shape the expectations of the private sector as the minister presents the mid-year review of the 2025 estimates? Let's talk about the Ghana cedi, of course. And so where it was some months ago, and it's been hovering around the 10 cedi, and the governor of the Bank of Ghana indeed talk about the fact that it has appreciated by more than 40% for the first half of this year, and whether we are going to see further appreciation or it will be stable till the end of the year. Let's look at the monetary policy rate as well. And it's very critical that we are showing you this because there was an emergency monetary policy committee meeting today. The expectation initially was that we could have seen an announcement of a policy rate, but the governor has now come to clarify that there wouldn't be any decision on the policy rate. But see where we were maybe a year ago, and then it came down and it's gone up marginally again. But we're also trying to play you a clip of the governor of the Bank of Ghana today when he spoke at the UPSA APSA banking roundtable, when he sought to clarify to us that yes, they are meeting, there's an emergency meeting, but it would not end in the policy rate being reviewed or adjusted.
These days we are quite busy. We are busy because it has to do with the US dollar, isn't it? It's a daily fight. The MPC, you heard about the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee. They had to meet this morning in an emergency meeting, not to set or do anything about the policy rate, but just to review the numbers and also take stock of some of the developments in the markets to get a sense of what is going on and what our options are ahead of their meeting. The main meeting is in 10 days. And so from morning, we were at that. We just closed from that meeting. And I decided to rush here, share a few thoughts with you. After that, I'll go back to work on the statement that will be issued later today. It is not a policy statement. It is not what we normally do. Many people were thinking we're going to do something about the monetary policy rate. That was not the objective. It was just to look at the numbers ahead of the main meeting that will start in 10 days' time. So, colleagues, we gather at a critical juncture in Ghana's economic trajectory after navigating a turbulent period marked by global shocks, domestic restructuring, and currency depreciation. And Ghana stands today on a firmer footing. Confidence is returning, economic momentum is strengthening, and most symbolically, the Ghanaian cedi has become a testament to resilience, to recovery, and to reform. Colleagues, this turnaround is not cosmetic, as we always say. It is structural. It is backed by stronger fundamentals, prudent macroeconomic management, a disciplined monetary policy stance, and a growing sense of national purpose.
And you heard the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, sharing those views with us. When we come back from this break, I'll be engaging the Chief Executive of the Association of Banks, Mr. John Niwa, and also the Vice President of the Ghana Union Trade Association, and also get the thoughts of an economist as you look at the 2025 mid-year budget review and expectations. What does the business community want? What do the bankers want? We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition. As I talked about earlier on, the Minister of Finance, Dr. Atuforson, next Thursday, July 24, will go before Parliament and do some reviews and adjustment when it comes to the estimates that were announced in the 2025 budget. But this critical assessment by the Minister of Finance definitely can't happen without gauging the thoughts of those who are in the private sector when it comes to businesses, when it comes to the commercial banks or those who play the financial sector. And that is why, indeed, I have with me here in studio Mr. John Niwa. He's the Chief Executive of the Association of Banks and also the Vice President of the Ghana Union of Trade Association, and also an economist and senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Edusa Kodia as well. But before we look at the budget review, I just want to get the thoughts of my guest in studio here on this whole emergency monetary policy meeting and what has happened. I mean, Mr. Wa, you were at the UPSA meeting as well. I mean, what do you make of all these developments? First, there was a meeting, moved back, emergency meeting, a policy decision, and then now, the action as well. Because you are the UPSA. What do you make of all these developments?
Yeah, I was there when the governor said the release is not going to be a policy document. Obviously, we are not in the room. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult to read into the kind of hiccups that we have witnessed over the last 24 hours. We're just hoping that it's a matter of getting the data sets properly organized so that the decision can be well grounded. But the governor has clearly stated that it's not going to be a policy press release, and that they just met to review the macro data, and that the MPC meeting itself will commence in 10 days' time. So I think we should all be on standby and await that. We can only, whatever you say will be speculation. Because you are not there. I mean, these are people in a room who have decided that even what triggered the emergency meeting, nobody knows.
But I mean, you play in a space where whatever decision that they take affect you and your members as well. Were you that expectant of any decision now from the Bank of Ghana when it comes to the policy decision?
We had media calling to find out what our expectations are. Obviously, given where inflation is, there is that general expectation that policy rate will definitely be trending downwards. How low, nobody can tell, but I mean, I've said elsewhere that we are not looking at anything less than 200 basis points. But the point is, the data is in the hands of the governor and the MPC team. We don't have visibility over all the data sets. So we can only look at the fundamentals and the evidence on the ground and then deduce. And from our deduction, we are saying, of course, we are using policy rate to be aggressively fighting inflation. Now, 2 months ago, we were around 23. Now we are at 13.7, which means we've made some good progress. If we keep that rate hanging up there, then the other fight of fighting lending rates, you are not winning it. So it's a very delicate balance. I'm sure the governor and his team will take that into account.
I know.
They need to also make sure that whatever policy decisions they are taking is converting into affordable lending, and people can afford the loans that they want to take.
Mr. Well, I've always had this argument to turn you. You always had the opportunity to educate me. I mean, the fact that the high rates doesn't help you as banks, and there's a trader and a traders here that are very critical. I mean, is this something that you are looking forward to? That, and I remember you've also educated me on this, that George, when the economy turns around, automatically the cost of credit would reduce, would go down. Is this something that the banks are looking forward to because of the impact of high rates and even the impact on non-performing loans as well?
It's expensive to have non-performing loans on your books. Very expensive. These are depositors' money that you have given out as loans. You give out 100 Ghana cedis and you can only recover 80 Ghana cedis. It's very bad. I mean, so anything that goes to elevate the propensity for customers to default is something that bankers are not happy with. And we believe that higher interest rates is a significant factor. It makes the lending unaffordable and it increases the propensity to default. So, as I said before, banks are not necessarily interested in that big ceiling where lending rate is up there, and then you give the loan, take the revenue on the top line, and then you take impairment on the bottom line. It's a zero-sum game. So we are looking forward to a decision that brings out the Ghana reference rate to a level that makes loans affordable, so that banks can open their eyes properly, do a lot more financial intermediation, engineer the economy and get it moving. Because now, I'm not sure what kind of business you'll be running to borrow at 30%, be able to pay your financing cost and still make a decent profit and pay dividend to your shareholders. And we should all be interested in this fact that lending rate where it is not good for the economy. And anything that we can do to bring it to a level that makes it more affordable is something that the banking system is also looking up to.
Mr. Well, sorry to take you back, but for you, I get from you that we should respect the decision of the governor of the Bank of Ghana on this whole policy rate decisions and economic data review as well. That's what I get for you.
Of course, yes. We are not in the room and we don't know what the drivers are, why initially it was going to be something around the policy, and along the line, the governor is saying the emergency meeting was not to take decisions on the policy rates, but to look at the macro fundamentals and review the data that they had available. I'm sure just to prepare the stage for the main meeting, which is to start in 10 days.
I'll be going to the Fair's Vice President of the Ghana Notaries Association, Clement Boateng, and very soon our senior lecturer and economist will be joining us through the Zoom platform as well to get us. So, but Mr. Boateng, I mean, you are traders, and I know how you guys have been drumming and making a strong case for reduction in cost of credit. What do you make? I know Guta was supposed to be part of this. What do you make of the current development on this whole policy rate issue? Announcement is not coming on, it's coming on, all those things as well.
Well, I wasn't at the UPS today, but I think the governor, did that in a way that he wasn't prepared, to preempt what, the finance minister, will be saying come the day of the media budget. So I think that is the reason why, he did.
We are speculating.
Just to, save the situation, because the boss himself, will be coming, to present the budget.
Okay.
So why then maybe do you want to, preempt? So I am thinking,
that could be the reason.
Yes.
But do you look forward to what are you looking for in terms of the policy rate? I knew that there was an announcement that you could guys be joining, but privately and off record. What are traders looking for in terms of the decision on the policy rate?
Yes, I will say, for some time now, Bank of Ghana, has been a bit, lenient by way of decisions that they take, and because for some time now they have been engaging us to find out some of our problems, so that in terms of maybe policy issues, they can factor it into whatever decisions that they want to take. The last time MPC meeting, our president was invited, to be to be as an observer. But when it comes to decision taking, he wouldn't.
But what I get from him, though, are you looking? What are your expectations this time around?
Our expectation is to see, the policy rate going down.
By 200, 100,
yes,
400,
like
500.
Mr. Was
200 as
see,
well.
But the problem that we have had for the past is the policy rate went up a bit for the past 2 years. The policy rate, I've forgotten the actual figure. That it stood at about 2 years ago. But for some time now, the policy rate has been coming down, and at some point they even maintained the same rate. But we don't see it translating into the reduction
cost of credit in the country.
Of the lending
you have
rate.
the banker here.
That is our problem.
He would help us explain
that's our problem.
And what could be the reason.
Yes.
Let me go on Zoom and bring in the economist and senior lecturer at the University of Ghana as well, Dr. Dusakole. Doc, let me get your thought on the policy rate meetings, emergency meeting, but the central bank says that they won't take any decision on the policy rate. Your thoughts as an economist, monitoring, a senior lecturer and economist monitoring the space?
Well, I was surprised to hear from the governor that they're going to have some emergency meeting, but well, they know the best for the country. They don't know how they are going by their things. They said they want to look at the figures. My suspicion is that, the budget should be read somewhere next week. That's 24th.
Yeah.
That I don't know. Yeah, next week. So perhaps they want to get the figures right and feed into the mid-year budget review as their inputs, so that the Minister of Finance will not come and say one thing, and then the MPC will also say another thing. I believe that's my suspicion, but hey, I stand to be corrected. I may still be wrong. But, well, in terms of the rates, I think the general macroeconomic environment has been favorable. He's talked about recovery, which has been okay. The disinflation process has been fast. The curve has been steep. Between 2 months, you've been able to reduce inflation rates by 4.7 percentage points, almost 5 percentage points, which is okay. So with these developments, many people are expecting a reduction in the policy rates. But I must say that the quantum of the reduction is always in question. If indeed they want to reduce it, they should be careful with the quantum of reduction, because the last time the MPC reduced the policy, we saw inflation surge afterwards. And the external factors, the geopolitical tensions, we don't have control over them. So we just have to be careful. Yes, I understand the sentiments by my brothers in the studio of the high cost of borrowing. Borrowing at 30%, you cannot be competitive. But I also understand that we are still recovering. So we haven't gotten to the point where interest rates will be around single digits or even 10%. That's my hope, but we haven't gotten there yet. It's important that we deal with the exchange rate, we deal with the inflation. So if inflation comes to single digits, maybe by the end of the year, then hopefully from next year going, interest rate will follow with its decline. If we can get around 15%, 10% to 15% interest rates for businesses to borrow at a lower cost, that will be fine for the economy. So these variables first, inflation and exchange rate first, and then the interest rate will follow. And also the MPC will be picking signals from exchange rate and inflation before they can determine the policy rate, which will also feed into the determination of interest rates the lending rate from which brothers and sisters in the business world will borrow. So let's try and manage things. We are we are doing well. The IMF is even praising us. We've achieved most of the targets in record time. So let's try and keep calm and then try and work on, stay committed to the fight against inflation and also manage the economy prudently. I must also say that I'm very happy about the harmony between the fiscal policy and the monetary policy. They seem to be singing the same song, I should say. I think it's the reason they want to meet before the budget, so that there's that harmony, so that nobody is saying something or the policies are not disjointed in that sense. So let's hope for the best, and hopefully things will be better.
Doc, I mean, let's get into our proper discussion on the mid-year budget review. I mean, there's always this saying that if it's not broken, why fix it? I know this mid-year review is a constitutional or a Financial Administration Act requirement, but for you, what should be the posture of the Finance Minister when he goes to Parliament next Thursday? Update us on revenue, update us on expenditure, it is required, but do you want him to stay the course than to try and rework or tweak anything because of the fact that if it's not broken, why fix it?
I think the budget is quite clear. The language of the budget is so loud that they want to ensure macroeconomic stability. You could see from the posture of the minister, you could see from the figures. I was even surprised that they cut down expenditure by 10 billion Ghana cedis compared to the 2024 outing. I was so surprised. And we have seen many people are complaining that the government is not spending. And so the government's posture now is to maintain stability, pursue stability and maintain and consolidate it before opening it up for further growth. And so I foresee that this year, the mid-year budget would really re-echo the commitments of the government to pursue macroeconomic stability. And we have seen the results. The results is what we are seeing from the decline in inflation, cedi appreciating, and even in dollar terms, our GDP has shot up to 130 billion. In per capita terms, it's about 3,700 per capita. So that is quite remarkable. So the posture of the finance minister, obviously, where you have to bring in the politics of it. He said in the main budget during the speech that they want to set a low bar so that if they go beyond it, then that would be hallelujah. For example, they set the growth rate at 4.0%. And his explanation was that let's set this low growth rates so that if we go beyond it, then we can sing praises. But if you set, say, 6% and you don't get 6%, then you are looking at what the opposition would do to you. So if you go through all the list, the GDP growth rate, inflation rate, we are likely, as a country, we are likely to do better than all the targets. If you talk about inflation, currently it's around 13%. The target was 11.9%. And we are just halfway through the year. So by the end of December, if everything stays on course, as we say in economics, if all things being equal, you're likely to hit single-digit inflation by the end of the year. So the revenue projections, or the government, I'm sure we are likely as a country to do better than all the targets that we set in the main budget. In terms of supplementary estimates, I am not too sure whether the minister will ask for supplementary estimates. Only if they want to pursue or they want to start implementing the 24-hour economy policy, then that may call for supplementary estimates, because we heard from Honorable Gusitano that, is that the name?
Yeah.
That we will need about $4 billion, about 41 billion Ghana cedis to start the implementation. The reason I'm saying it is that 41 billion Ghana cedis was not budgeted when they were reading the main budget. Because, in fact, if you read the main budget, 24-hour economy was just mentioned by passing. You see in page 3 of the speech, paragraph 7, and page 4, paragraph 8. These were the only places I found 24-hour economy.
Yeah.
It was just a sentence that the government will implement export-led industrial growth, something. So if indeed we are halfway through the year, if they want to implement it, then that 41 billion, they'll have to request for it in Parliament as a supplementary estimate. So that would be maybe the only addition if they really want to pursue that.
Doc, I'll come back to you about some will say the biggest elephant in the room. How do we do with the revenue challenge? But let me come to my studio. You say, what bankers? I mean, let me find out from you. We've seen some of the Q1, Q2 numbers. How is the banking industry doing? I mean, if we should concentrate on the numbers, some will say that, hallelujah, I mean, things are good. The IMF has said that some of the banks most of them are strong, they make up to the requirement. Can we go and sleep saying that, listen, everything is good? The CEO of the association can now take a break and even take a cup of tea and relax? How's the industry doing?
Of course. I mean, the governor has said it time and again that the banking industry is resilient, is strong. We have a banking group that is bent on doing the right thing, helping to grow the economy. So a lot more can be done to accumulate a lot more capital so that we have the right base to help propel the economy in terms of energizing the productive sectors. Yes, to the point around what my brother on the Zoom said.
No, but before we get that, for you, the industry, in terms of testing the pulse, how is the banking sector doing now?
Stability is good for business.
The numbers are good, the profits are doing so well.
We are not very focused on that, to be honest with you. Yes, that is the outcome of a lot of processes. It's media. Okay. And the banks will be publishing their media results very, very shortly. So I wouldn't want to preempt what is...
Not going to the fine details, but I'm saying that for me as a layman, I look at some of the numbers and and even what the fund has said, it appears that now we can confidently say that we are out of the woods. If you have 8 out of 10 banks and 8 are doing well, you wouldn't classify that the industry is struggling. So we can confidently say that the banks are now out of the woods when it comes to those numerous struggles, post-detection program and all those things.
I don't like to use block words, block phrases like that. We've made very good progress. We're coming from a very, wild experience coming through DDP or the losses that the banks accumulated. Obviously, we've managed from 2023, 2024 to get a lot more of capital accumulation. So as we speak, we have a lot of the banks, or several of them, in very hefty, operating with very hefty capital buffers. So yes, we've made a lot of progress. A lot more needs to be done. And we are just talking about non-performing loans. It is an ongoing challenge facing...
Is this still a problem for you?
It is a big challenge.
Should we blame the banks or blame the environment?
It's difficult to have a handle.
Oh, we should blame Guta members who are not paying back their loans. I mean, that is me, not
the business community, the business community, the judiciary, the environmental situation in terms of a business environment, the climate, and to some extent, sometimes sanctioning regime at the bank level also playing a role. So it's a multiplicity of factors leading to the NPA, but a lot of it has to do with external factors. The business climate, business is doing, the businessman is doing everything that he said he would do. Business cannot pay. How do you blame the business?
Blame the traders as well.
Then you have instances where, yes, you can see that the business can comfortably pay, but there's that desire to delay or to default, and which is a situation that sometimes I find very difficult to understand. And when we experience the default situations and you go through the recovery mode, then you have these stumbling blocks within the judicial system, the lawyers playing the courts, and then something that should have taken maybe a couple of weeks, you find yourself fighting even after 2 years, still in the court fighting. Until we get that, and businesses and individuals who go to the bank to borrow know that if I borrow and default, the bank can do this and then everything is recovered. Then the next customer can get access to funding. So it is a matter of doing the right thing, improving the credit culture. And then the last time I used you as an example, how many of your friends are perhaps not even calling you anymore because they came for 2,000 or 5,000 and you are the enemy now. But when you call, it's like the same problem is what the banks are facing. You know, the same people are the people who go to the bank, they make demand for credit, and for some reason, the bank becomes their enemy. When we go to the court system also sees the bank like the big elephant trying to, stamp on some
small traders and
businesses. But it is never the case. No bank will take a customer to court if they have not exhausted every avenue for recovery. Mind you, the money is for the depositor, it's for the customer. One customer on the asset side, there's another customer on the liability side, which is the deposit side. So no bank, and I'm saying this again, no bank is trigger happy, the least they are going to call for recovery. No. Even per the Borrowers and Lenders Act, we only have to notify the courts and then enter recovery. So long as the assets that is backing the collateral is backing the loan is properly registered. But unfortunately, as soon as we start that process, somebody initiates a process in court and then it frustrates everything. Until we get to the point where we respect what the law says and banks can safely lend and recover, impairment situations and discussions will be with us.
Mr. We are going into this mid-year review again. What are the expectations of commercial banks? I asked the question that maybe the economists will educate me more, but it appears that we are, if it's a plane, we've not experienced any major turbulence yet. For you, when you engage your members, when you have those normal meetings, what do they want from government, the finance minister? As some would say that this mid-year could also be an avenue to tweak things around and get things right for the commercial banks.
Yeah, we were happy to hear that there's some provision that has been made to pay some of the arrears.
Yeah.
When you hear arrears within contractors' payment, when
about
you hear arrears,
billion, the president said that.
4.something billion. Yeah. When you hear that, it is not contractors, it's banks. You understand? When you hear that contractors are going to be paid, it means that banks should expect some reprieve because the loans that they give sometimes 4 years, 5 years ago, we are going to have to get some little from the recovery. And it's sometimes very worrying that very good transactions go to banks and government of Ghana is the counterparty and then banks are shying away. And it's all because of the history of losses. If government can stay on course and say, if we don't have the budget and the funding in place for this project, we are not digging ground, we are not starting. And then we do that and run for a period, you find banks running to government to try and fund all these projects that government is looking for money to fund. We do not want to experience the kind of losses that we experience when we lend to counterparties, whose counterparty is the government. So going into the mid-year, stability is everything. And we are happy with the half year, how things have stabilized. We've seen the performance of the currency. Inflation is trending in the right direction. Hopefully, with the inflation where it is now, at the next MPC, the MPC members will take a decision on the policy rate, which should also bring the lending rate to levels, perhaps not the levels that we'll be expecting, but to levels that makes lending more affordable to our customers. And to the point that my friend made about transmission of
policy rate cut.
I mean, unless you just want to be sarcastic, I'm telling you, the transmission mechanism is almost automatic. Okay. Because it is GRR plus. Okay. And once the GRR changes, we publish GRR every month. The first Wednesday of every month, go to our website, gab.com.gh, you will see that we have published a new GRR. If you have a loan which is referenced to the GRR, you should see a reduction in the interest rate on that loan. because it is a benchmark rate, you may not be rating to that this is your new lending rate, but you should experience it.
Mr. Boateng, let me bring you in again on the expectation, but I want to also find out from you, from traders, the city has been your clarion call, it's been a little bit stable. How are your members doing right now in terms of performance and all those things? How would you assess the first half of this year for traders?
Yeah, before I come to that, I'll just have to make a brief comment about the non-performing loans Mr. Wa talk about. Yeah, I think currently we have a credit reference bureau that if somebody comes in for a loan, you can check the history of that person. If that person is a credit,
worthy as well.
Then before you can give that person a loan. And they also don't give loans for free. There is a collateral that you have to provide before loans. Insurance. Yes, insurance before loans are given. And you see, one thing that has contributed to people not being able, to pay their loans has to do with the high interest rate. Because we've always been saying that if you want a loan or a facility, you can get it, but how affordable it is. You go in for a loan at 35, 36%. How then do you pay? Because you always talk about the risk factor.
But who forced you?
It's a very simple thing. No, they don't take it. I mean, you see,
so if they want to cut down the non-performing loans, then
cost of credit.
Yes, cost of credit must
help us. His argument is that
you see
the cost of credit is playing a major role in the ability of most of them to service these loans.
Yes.
I mean, it's in the loan business, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And it takes the two parties to tango. Are you getting me? There is no way a bank will force a facility down your throat. The bank will do an assessment of your cash flow projection.
Yes.
Your cash flow projection.
We had some credit relations managers who have been pursuing people for loans.
No. They pursue because they've seen prospects, but they will never force the loan down your throat.
Okay, I get you.
I mean, the dotted line, you have to sign it. So, 2 days ago, a friend of mine, we were talking about lending and who the counterparties are. And a friend asked, why are banks so happy to give money to Chinese businesses and are reluctant to give money to Ghanaian businesses? And I said, character. Character is about 60% of the loan performance. And I can say without hesitation that we are lacking. The average Ghanaian business owner lacks the character to perform on the loan. Let me give you an example. If you give a facility letter to a Chinese businessman, you read every line, you explain every line. You go and bring somebody from the office who speaks Chinese and English, you will interpret it to the person. Then he will come and sit with you. Every line. Sometimes they will meet all the conditions. Because of one clause, you have met all the conditions, they will never get their disbursement. They will say, don't disburse until this thing has been sorted out. Let's take the average Ghanaian businessman. You give the offer letter, where is the dotted line?
He won't read through.
You understand? Because, you see, it is the loan that the interest is in getting the money. The Chinese man, the interest in how am I going to repay? Yeah. So the character, the orientations are different. And I think the Ghanaian business people must come to that place where when they take a facility, it is the number one thing when they wake up, it dawns on them that I have a facility to take care of. And that is one thing I would say, with all the experience that I have, even having run a bank, I'm telling you, that is one thing that, on average, is lacking. And I'm sure Mr. Boateng sitting here will attest to that his own members, a lot of them, you understand? Because as you are giving the mind is on the disbursement. The Chinese man, the mind is on the document I'm signing, what it will do to me. So non-performing loans, it's a matter of a greater percentage of it is character. The other greater percentage is the environmentals, which is the judicial system, the lands commission. You go there, you are holding collateral. Sometimes you go and things have happened, and all these other inhibitions within the system. And I said, in some instances too, you can say that the sanctioning regime was not properly executed.
Mr. Boateng, I was coming to you, Toy, to help us. How has the environment been for you, Q1? We've seen the CD being fairly stable. when are we going to see traders respond by dropping their costs or prices of goods? I say this and educate me. I've been to supermarkets owned by foreigners, and forgive me, they have dropped their prices. Place the argument about the fact that, oh, they import. There's a supermarket, at least Legon, it's a foreign-owned, they bake bread. That is big bread, and these are fresh bread being sold. They put the labels there that the bread was X amount, that is 4 weeks ago. They have dropped it. If you go to a shop, and I'm sorry, I'm not being owned by a Ghanaian, they are still keeping their old prices. When are your members going to respond? You asked for some 30 days break the other time when the Trade Minister met you by dropping your cost of goods because of the, if not even appreciation, the cedi has been fairly stable for more than 6 months.
Yes, George, I can tell you that some of our members have dropped down.
When did they do that?
Immediately, we started, benefiting from the appreciation of the cedi.
Wow.
Yes, I can tell you. Even though when we went to meet the trade minister, yeah, we asked for
some 30 days,
some 30 days because
we have crossed that. 30
yes, we have crossed that line.
So are you going to do that?
Not that are we going to do that. We've done that.
Oh, I see.
We've done that. I can tell you that, you see, when even the city started appreciating, Guta, as a responsible organization, even issued a statement appealing to our members, to reduce their prices so that the consumer will also benefit from the gains that we all, have been able to achieve. Then we met the minister. Then we appealed to the minister again that she should exercise a little bit of patience because people have now placed orders. So if you want to see the full benefit of the gains that we have made, let's wait for that import. When that import arrive, then we will reduce prices further down.
And are we going to see that? Because we've crossed that 30-day cycle.
This is what I'm telling you, that we have done.
We've seen that further drop on the market.
We have done that. I can tell you that we have done that. Yes. If you come to my sector, that is the spare parts sector, things that we used to sell, let's say shock absorber for Mitsubishi Pajero that we used to sell at 1,500. It's been sold now at 1,200.
Oh, that's so. The spare parts, they've gone down.
Yes,
that's a fact.
It's gone down.
We can go to the market and check.
You see, so the advice that we have been giving to consumers, and for that matter, the general public, is that don't stick to one place. If you go shopping, shop from one shop to the other. But some people restrict themselves, to one particular shop, and then when they go there.
So the reduction, is it the second round of the food that are taking place for spare parts on the market and other goods?
I'm telling you.
Interesting. We didn't know about this.
I'm telling you, don't stick yourself to one shop. Ask the prices from shop A, you go to shop B, you go to shop C. It is there that you see that there are differences. But if you stick yourself to one shop, maybe you wouldn't get the benefit that you desire. But I can tell you, prices have gone down as we promised.
If the cedi appreciate further, we're going to see further reduction.
Further reduction. And this will come about as a result of, some issues that we want the government, to deal with.
Because
one has to do with the issue of the shipping lines, and I'm sure
the president has asked that they should go to Parliament for that.
The president has asked that. Even 3 days ago, we even had a meeting with the shippers
authority or
shippers. No, the meeting shippers council was there.
Yeah.
Then the shipping lines association, were there. A number of stakeholders were there. And then we put it before them because the president had met a GIF, and GIF had, complained about the attitude of this
Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They had complained about the attitude of this shipping lines. And so, if you could remember, the president even charged the Attorney General and the Minister of Transport to make sure that the Parliament of Ghana is the sole authority to be fixing fees and charges. And so whatever fees that these shipping lines will charge has to go to Parliament for Parliament, to ratify it. And if they are able to do that, prices, I can tell you, prices will even, go down further. Because if we take the total percentage of the charges of the import regime,
The cost of shipping.
the cost of shipping charges, against the total import duties that we pay. In Ghana here, is about 4%. But if you compare it to some of the countries within the sub-region, it's about 2%. Yes, it's about 2%. It's about 2%. Yes. Togo, Ivory Coast, Nigeria. It's about 2%. So these shipping lines are, milking us. Don't forget that the same vessel, that call at the ports of this neighboring countries,
Nigeria,
are the same vessel that brings.
So I get from you that third round of reductions would be very dependent on these shipping charges being reviewed as well.
Yes.
Let me again come to this mid-year review. So what else do you want from the Minister of Finance?
Yes, for this mid-year review, what we expect, from the government is, one, to tell us how they are going to, sustain the gains or the appreciation, of the cities is very important, because if they are able, to sustain it, it will then go down to also reflect on the prices that the consumers, will be buying. That is number one. Number two, we expect, because in their maiden budget, we were expecting them, to remove that import levy of 2%. That levy, must go this time around, because it's stayed for, very far too long. Then the government talk about this 24-hour economy. We want the government, to provide, security once the ports are going to work 24 hours, because I wouldn't go to the port, to clear my goods at about maybe 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. and you expect me, to carry the cargo to my point of discharging, and then I wouldn't have any security, to accompany me. So government must, we expect the finance minister, to throw more light on the security architecture of this 24-hour economy. Then we also, once Mr. Uwa is here, for some time now, our members have been complaining.
The dollars?
Yes, about the issue of transfer.
Okay, transfer
to
charges.
Our suppliers. No, not the charges, but transfer to our suppliers. You go to the banks and then they tell you there are no forex. And so therefore they cannot, make transfers
let me because it's been an issue on the market. And I know that even before this graphic business issue came up, I had somebody calling me that, George, I go to the bank to withdraw on my account and the bank cannot give me everything that I... These are not even else. So these are not people who are going to get... Mr. Dewa, help me educate her. What is happening? Are you locking up the FX in bonds and other investments so you can't make liquidity? What is happening?
No. I mean, it's just, we also started picking feeds about, I would say about a week about a week ago.
It's true.
We also started picking fees that customers, have started complaining that when they make calls at the bank for transfers, there are delays, and sometimes the delays could be attributed to perhaps lack of availability of FX. We've taken steps. We are picking data. I cannot speak exactly to it now, but in the course of a few days to come, we'll come very clear on what the key issues are. Because I've spoken to the banks, a lot of the banks that I was speaking to, they said there's no problem. So long as you have the right documentation and everything, they will be able to execute your transaction. Unfortunately, the complaints haven't stopped coming. Even today, we received, I think, 2 or so people coming to say what is happening. So it's a matter that we are picking up and we'll definitely investigate it.
Mr. Uwa, help me out. I mean, Mr. Uwa has been an MD of several banks before. And away from the issues about the letters of credit and all the rest, I'm asking that, do you get the comfort from your members that we have FX to meet there? Because people are saying that I even go to a bank to just withdraw on my own account and I can't get all the dollars I want. That's what I'm asking. Apart from the LC issues and all the, what is happening?
You see, I must say that there's a little bit of tightening of the requirements around FX supply. That is not our currency. The governor said it today. That the dollar is not a legal tender in Ghana. That is not our currency. So yes, you have a dollar in the bank. Why do you want to withdraw dollar? You need to give justifiable reason why the bank should give you dollars. You understand?
My own money.
It's in the Foreign Exchange Act. You understand? You cannot just walk to a bank and say, even when you are withdrawing cedis, don't they sometimes ask you why you are withdrawing and where are you taking it to. I mean, we want all this is all part
fair?
of it.
Some would say that
It's fair. It's fair because it's all about making sure that the financial stability situation in the country is not disrupted because everybody is going to the bank because they believe that there's a little bit of disparity between here and there. So let me go and take from here and go and we don't want to be the ones contributing to any kind of instability. Because I've sat here and I've said the banks are extremely happy with the level of stability that we have recorded. We want it to continue. You cannot have stability when people are walking to the bank and saying, I want to withdraw $200,000. To do what? Our currency is cedi. You want to withdraw $200,000 cash. To do what?
So in this case,
so the bank has the right.
Yeah.
The dollars may be there, but you have to answer the question.
In this case,
it can be for money laundering. It can be for anything.
In this case of this individual, and I know he's watching, that he had almost about $10,000 in his account. He was requesting for even $2,000 to make a payment on behalf of his kid.
The bank can do the payment.
The bank couldn't meet that $2,000.
You see, that's what I'm saying, that
this is not $200,000.
why do you want to make a cash withdrawal if it is about paying school fees?
Yeah.
The bank can do the school fees transfer for you.
But I brought that money to you, not for you to determine to tell me how to spend the money.
And after
that is the argument.
George, and I've said this.
Let's allow him to.
Just one moment.
Okay.
Go to any country that is worth a salt. Go to United States of America and walk to a banking hall that I have $100,000 in my account. I want $10,000. Whether they will just go to the vault and give $10,000 to you. The questions you have to answer. Your own money.
That one is right.
The questions you see, we have liberalized our economy to the extent that people are beginning to equate the dollar to the cedi. The dollar is not our currency. You cannot just walk into a bank and say, I want dollars. That is why we actually are discouraging dollar savings. Dollar is for transaction. You need dollar, it means you want to transact. You cannot store value in dollar in Ghana. The store of value is cedi. That is where we have to do our savings, our investments. If you want to do dollar, it means you want to do an activity. No country, even in the sub-region, go to Cote d'Ivoire, you cannot withdraw 2,000 over the counter. So why do we want to liberalize our economy such that somebody goes with a sack to withdraw dollars?
Ghana must go.
Yeah, to withdraw dollars from over the counter. And then we want to allow this kind of practice to go on. And then when they don't get, it becomes a problem. I think we should be thanking the banks for holding the fort and making sure that we do not create the kind of instability that resulted in the level of depreciation and speculation we saw. Once there is cedi cash, dollar cash, in people's pockets, in their cars, in their houses, they are speculating. We don't want to be the ones facilitating speculation.
I get the education. I get the argument about, George, the right thing must be done. Do you prefer about someone having 200,000 Ghana cedis, $100,000, and keeping it under his pillow than bringing it to the banking system?
Of course, we want to mobilize everything into the banking system.
Yeah.
We want to. And whoever wants to do that or even thinking about that should think about your safety and security as well. In fact, that should be even supreme over whatever problems you are going through at the bank level. We need to see this in totality. We have one currency in this country. And we need the media to drum this into the ears of every Ghanaian. Our currency is the Ghana cedi. Ghana cedi is 60 years this year. We are going to celebrate Ghana cedi. Why do you want to be transacting in the USD? I was very happy. A friend told me somewhere around April, May, when the currency was aggressively dropping like that, those selling vehicles along the streets and the like, they started pricing everything in cedis.
Yeah.
You go, you want to pay $, they say, no, it's cedis. That is how we should operate in this country, where people begin rejecting dollars because we have confidence in the stability of the cedi.
It's the one of my friends told me, and we had an argument about this, that, George, the best antidote to dealing with the dollarization issue is firmly stabilizing your local currency. It would automatically force people to move to the local currency. When there is so much uncertainty, there's so much volatility, that is when people shift to a currency that is stable.
I agree with you.
So that is the answer. The laws might not work, mass solution might not work. stabilize the local currency, and people will switch
But we need
to the city.
We need to force compliance on people. And I'm afraid, my brother is here, Mr. Boateng. A lot of Guta members would prefer going to the Alaji or
The Zimmerman, as the governor of the Bank of Ghana.
As the governor said,
No.
Because you see, the rigor of going through the banking system for transfers, bring this document, bring that document. It's not because of the bank. It is because of the requirements.
So, are you aware about this thing that's happening? I know you as an experienced banker. Now, some of the people who trade, and he might dispute with China and all the rest, they have certain people here in Ghana here that they go and give the cedis to or dollars to. They go to China and then take the thing from there. So some of these monies are no longer passing through the banking system.
And it is a problem.
Are you not worried?
I mean, we've heard.
Oh, Mr. Wa, Mr. Wa is an experienced banker.
No, the point is
several commercial
I'm not saying what you're saying is not true, but I said we have also heard. If I say I know, the governor calls me and says, John, can you point me to one of them? I cannot point because I do not have visibility on any person that I can say this one has done it and therefore we should go apprehend the person. But obviously, we have heard it's all over the place. They are switching currencies offshore. They get CDs here, they get dollars offshore. There are companies set up in Dubai undertaking transactions on behalf of traders in Ghana. Traders in Ghana.
I know someone. NIB shouldn't come for me. I know someone
and we will work with the governor to close all those loopholes. Because we need to close them. That is, we need to mainstream financial services. We need to bring everything within the financial system. That is the only way. When the governor speaks, you will find that the variables, when he says this will change, because everything is then connected to everything. As it is now, the governor is speaking, somebody is holding 1 million under his bed. What the governor is saying has no impact on that 1 million.
Are the banks not benefiting from people saving dollars with them? And that's what one of my friends is asking me. That are you not benefiting?
I mean, of course, I don't, you see, we only lend, even if banks will lend in foreign currency in this country, they are lending mostly dollar. Until very recently, if you took dollar today, you are losing a lot of cedis.
But that has changed.
That has changed because of... But there is not much benefit to the bank. I can say that for sure. There is not much benefit to the bank. The banks would prefer to transact and deal almost everything, loans, everything, in our local currency.
I'll come back to you to find out from you how this payment thing will mean to the banks going forward in terms of cost of credit, NPLs, and again, what else can the minister do? Because some will say that the banks are the pulse of the economy. But let me bring in Dr. Edu. It's an interesting discussion about the city and all those things. But for you, what should be the approach when it comes to revenue when the minister goes before Parliament? There are someone saying that it is revenue, that's our biggest hurdle. I don't know whether you want to pass any comments about the FS issues as well. Mr. Dr. Doc, sorry.
Listen to the borrower and the lender in the studio about the interest rates. Obviously, the private sector plays a key role. If you look at the posture and then how things were run in the budget, you see that the government wasn't ready to commit itself in terms of too much expenditure. They wanted to leave everything into the private sector. So the private sector should be able to do business at a lower cost. If you take the number of people employed in the country, more than 80% are being employed by the private sector. So everything is placed at the doorstep of the private sector. So all these forest interest rate, all these monetary factors must work favorably to the private sector. Well, so in terms of the revenue mobilization, George, if you have been listening to me, I am a student of revenue generation. The reason being that if you don't get enough revenue, then in an attempt to keep or narrow the gap between revenue and expenditure, you end up cutting down expenditure. Meanwhile, you have to provide light, you have to get the tax flowing, you have to build bridges, you have to build hospitals. So if you are able to mobilize enough revenue, then you can pursue any kind of investment that you want in terms of health, education, etc., etc. Again, when you have enough revenue, you limit your rate of borrowing. Even if you go to borrow, you still come home to mobilize resources to pay your debt or service your debt. So how do we go by it? Every now and then we say that you can get revenue, you can increase your tax revenue without necessarily increasing the tax rate or introducing new taxes. By the way, the convention for tax revenue, I'm mentioning tax revenue because it is more directly related to economic growth. The convention is that the tax revenue growth rate should be 2.5 times the GDP growth rate. So 2.5 times the GDP growth rate. And so if you fall short, we have been falling short of this target or this convention. And so we have to up our game as a country. We've been talking about using digitization. Ghana is far advanced compared to our peers in terms of digitization. So let's leverage it. Let's leverage digitization for revenue mobilization, reduce the interpersonal, relations and which breeds corruption, so that we can reduce corruption and get more revenue.
But Doc, I want to ask you one quick question. And the
Yes.
revenue thing, what should be the approach? Going on the trajectory of trying to simplify the tax rate to raise more, or some are saying that we are seeing some backdoor approach. First is this one-city levy on this thing. There are talks about the bits about the 21% VAT on non-life insurance and all those things. What should be the approach in dealing with the revenue shortfall and not burdening the consumer? Because there are some who are saying that if this approach is sustained, people will also be smart and try to the tax avoidance and the tax evasion argument. So what should Dr. Ataforson do when he goes to Parliament in trying to raise more revenue and not burden commercial banks and not burden traders?
Yeah, okay, so I was developing my point, and I think the first point I made was the digitization, so that we leverage digitization, revenue collection, reduce interpersonal relations. Secondly, about the definition of the taxes. And I attended a conference where some tax payers were saying that the definition of the same tax is different from the payer to the one who is administering it. So we have to simplify it so that everybody can pay the little that they have to pay. If it's simple and everybody pays 1 cedi or 2 cedis, it's far better than making it complex so that only a few people are able to pay and the rest will run away. On the issue of removing certain taxes and introducing new ones, we tend to play politics with it so much. I am not in favor of the D-levy. For a short-term measure, maybe I will support it, but I don't think it's a long-term solution to the weaknesses in the energy sector. The energy sector, in terms of ECG's revenue mobilization, we all know from their books has been weak. And so there's a lot of efforts, a lot of technological issues, technical things that must be done in revenue generation instead of just passing this levy and that levy. And we must be prudent in the management of it. There are other sources that we have mentioned all this time around. We've been talking about the property rate, which is a nice area. We have been talking about the natural resource. I don't think that the 5% royalties that they pay in the gold mining sector, I don't think is enough. I believe that we can raise it to about 7%. We should negotiate with them. We should not impose it on them, but we can negotiate with them and raise the royalties. There are other areas that we can get, but a long-term solution, honestly, if you ask me, I don't see where else that the government is going to get much money to drastically transform the economy unless the natural resource. So Ghana has been blessed with tall lists of natural resource. And so as a country, we must leverage it, leverage the natural resource that we have. So I'm happy to hear about this good for reserves, good board, etc., because Ghana today is the #1 producer of gold in Africa, #6 in the whole world. Last year, we produced 4.9 ounces of gold. And what was our share? But $12 billion exportation of gold. what came to government, what was the contribution to our public finance, almost around, around 1.5, 2 billion maximum. The same with crude oil, same with all the natural resources. So I believe that if we can renegotiate some of the terms and position ourselves well to actually leverage the natural resource, gold, crude oil, gas, and the rest that we have, then we can behave like Botswana, the Saudi Arabias, the Norways, and then Ghana can be a first-class country pushing forward. So honestly, my major recommendation is on how to, as a country, we start the conversation on the natural resource. Because for me, that's where we get enough money to transform the economy.
Doc, I'll come back to you on the bit about managing confidence. But Mr. Wa, I mean, what would this payment thing, if it is actualized, and this media would basically give us a mean for the commercial banks? Yeah.
Which payment?
The payment to the contractors, yeah. Just a quick one,
yeah. It would be great, as I said. And any arrest payment goes into the banking system. It goes to remedy some of the distress within the loan portfolios of these contractors who have been financed by the banks. It will mean a lot. We are just hoping that it won't be the last. Once this 4 billion comes, another 4 billion comes, another 4 billion comes, because we know it's quite a lot that the government is sitting on. But again, I don't know whether the media review is the timing for it, but I've said it before during the past government, but I think government should really sit down and take a critical look at the special programs, the special initiatives, free SHS. I'm not a supporter of this free university, first year university school fees. You see, we are a poor country. We need to let our behavior reflect that, and so that we will change. No, we do not target our social intervention. And it is possible to target our social intervention programs. How do you on wholesale basis, say, I'll pay everybody's first year school fees?
Yeah.
When
that is a problem.
It's a big problem. The same goes for free SHS. The same goes for pockets of initiatives and social intervention programs that, in my view, with a little bit of data, we can properly target the people who really need it. Maybe they don't just need it for first year. They need it for first year to final year. And then those who do not need it, your child, my child, they should not go accessing government funding because government says come for money.
Mr. Well, we'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take our last one, and then we end this program. In terms of their outlook for the next coming months, what are your expectations? And are we going to end another year where the banks will put some very, very strong profits and numbers? This is PM Express Business Edition, as you engage the views of the banking community, the traders as well, and also an economist as we look at the mid-year budget review and expectations from these business communities. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. This is PM Express Business Edition. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition as we gauge the views of the business community for the 2025 mid-year budget review. I have with me in studio the Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks to join the one, also the Vice President of the Ghana Unitary Association, and also an economist and senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Edu Sakode. Doc, let me get your final thought, and then I come to the studio and wrap up. For you, how should the minister address the issue about managing expectations and also delivering, even on what he has already promised? Because there's a fear that he could end up using this mid-year review to also promise some things. How should we use this mid-year review of estimates to manage expectations, as I try and get your final thought, because we're going to draw the curtain down on this program, Doc?
Yeah, I think we should not forget that we are still with the IMF. We still have the IMF program in our hands, and we must meet the targets. So I think that's where he should come from, that based on the tenets in the IMF document, we are staying on course to achieve all those targets. That would, kill all kinds of expectations. But I mean, having gone through half of the year, the remaining half, I think the government should start opening up small. They have kept things very tight. I believe they should start opening up to at least pay the contractors, some of the arrears, if they can pay. They should start opening up a little bit, because we have seen inflation and other variables trending downward. So this is an opportunity for us to at least send positive signal to the market that the government is able to commit and honor its commitments. On the issue of the 24-hour economy, I am mentioning this because if you read the budget seems to suggest that the entire economic policy for economic transformation is embedded in the 24-hour economy. That's why I'm mentioning it. And there was no commitment by government in the earlier budget, in the main budget when you read it. So now that it has been launched, if you are going to have a mid-year budget, then you must tell us something about how you're going to start the implementation and where, at least start something to send a good signal to Ghanaians that you're on course with your economic policy, 24-hour economy. So start something, even if you don't, not a major start something, just give an indication that you are starting. When I listen to my brothers about the lending rate and all that, what came to mind was about the special banks, which have been set up for special purposes, like ADB, like NIB. And today we are talking about Women's Bank. And the amount allocated to the Women's Bank wasn't enough. So again, we want to see much about the Women's Bank so that our women can go there and borrow at a lower rate to expand their businesses. But first and foremost, let's try and keep focus to the IMF program because we have still not completed the program. Somewhere in the first quarter of next year is when maybe we may finish. So we should stay on course up to first quarter of next year, and then we can put matters into our own hands. Let's show the whole world that we can manage things ourselves. Not that always we run to IMF, We have to show that we can manage things. Kwame Nkrumah said it, that the black man can manage, is capable of managing his own affairs. We should demonstrate that we are managing our own affairs in all fields. So let's the government stay focused, stay committed to their stability, and then initiate the 24-hour economy, which is their main economic transformational agenda for the country.
Thank you, Doc. Mr. Boateng, your final thought as you try and wrap up in terms of...
Yes, before I complete on my expectations, I just want to...
and as you try and wrap up, because we are drawing the times on our side.
Mr. Ewuah made mention of right documentation. If you have right documentation, there's no way that, you cannot get transferred to your suppliers. But I can tell Mr. Ewuah that we have a lot of our members who have been able to provide the right documentation, but still they are...
He said he'll come back and explain because he's trying to get the data. Okay. So let me get your final thought as you try to wrap up.
My final talk will be on the, in the run-up to the election, our president promised of a flat rate regime for duties. And we still want to remind him that we were expecting it in their maiden budget, but no mention was made, and therefore it is our expectation that this media budget, they will do. And then our final talk will have to be on the VAT regime. We've been complaining about the VAT regime that is currently, pertaining in this country, where we have, 3 regimes: the standard, the flat rate, and by virtue of those who don't meet the threshold, they don't, pay anything at all. So we want a situation that the VAT regime, will be simplified as it pertains in other countries. Countries like Dubai have 5% across board. So they should, define something, that will be affordable, to all the business community.
Mr. Wiafe, are we going to end the year on a solid note from the banks in terms of how things are? But again, let me allow you to have your final thought, please.
Yeah, I mean, if what we've recorded in the first half of the year is anything to go by, I'm very hopeful for the second half of the year. But I would like to commend Honorable Atuforsen for what we have seen. I'm hopeful that we'll continue to see the level of discipline, the control, and the consolidation that we've seen in the last six months, that it follows through to the next 6 months. The problem, the big elephant in the room is Q1 of next year, when we have come to the end.
May 2026.
May 2006. 2026, when we have come to the end of the IMF program. From experience, that is where our problem starts.
Yes.
And I do not want a situation where we pack everything and then all of a sudden come and release everything in 1 year and then complete disarray. And I would like, as I said, as I'm commending him for what he has done, we want to continue tapping him at the back and continue commending him and continue for him to continue the discipline all through the term of office. I know that the president has programs. As our friend on Zoom talked about, Dr. Sakode said, the programs, the 24-hour economy, they are all not in the budget that was read. I mean, those things don't come cheap. We are talking about $4 billion. How it's going to be funded is another issue that perhaps another something that we can discuss in another program. So overall, we are very hopeful. We like what we have seen in the first half, and we're trusting that the second half will continue on the same trajectory. The currency between the official rate and whatever rate is in the market, by black market, Zamrama, and the rest, we want it to be bridged and disappear, so that there is no arbitrage on the rate, and therefore we mainstream all the financial services and financial transactions, particularly FX, through the banking system.
So why is the chief executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, Clemens Boateng, is the first vice president of the Ghana Unitary Association, and also Dr. Du Sakode. He's an economist and a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, joining us, and be looking forward to this coming Thursday when the Minister of Finance, Dr. Kesla Zuforson, goes to Parliament to present the mid-year review of the 2025 estimates. I know the questions will still be there, the answers will be there. Maybe see what he will present and how he can sustain the current stability that we are enjoying for this economy. My name is George Wiafe. Indeed, have a great day. This has been PM Express.